Well, hello and welcome to the Oregon Tail YouTube channel. We do a little bit of everything around our property here. So today I thought I'd take you along and show you 5 essential tools that we use around the homestead. Thanks for joining us. Alright, so some of these are going to be categories. Hard to fit just 5 tools in here. So the first category is going to be garden hand tools. Very important. There's 2 kinds of shovels that we use a lot of, a round point and a square point. Round point does the majority of the work, digging, shoveling, that sort of stuff, but you do need a square point to clean out the bed of a pickup or trailer stuff if you're hauling stuff in. So it's important to have both. So I've been using these cobalt steel shovels. I bought a small square point and a long handle round point, and had them for a few years now. They're a little heavier than a traditional wood-handled tool, but the durability of them seems to be there. I am very hard on shovels. I like to use them as pry bars, so usually my wood-handle shovels make it a couple years, and I end up breaking them. So really digging the, pun intended, digging the metal-handled shovels. The other 2 digging implements that I use, not as often, but they're really important when you need them, is a pickaxe and a 16-pound breaking bar. So this has a point on one end. You can use it for breaking rocks, which unfortunately I've had to do a lot of around here. And then the other end you can pound on with a sledgehammer. When we were putting in our pole barn poles, trying to get through some of those rocks, you couldn't get through them with a post hole auger. So it was a lot of by hand beating on this thing, breaking rocks apart. So when you need it, you need it. Also, when the shovel's not a good pry bar, this is too. Well, we happen to live in the Pacific Northwest, and our property has a ton of trees on it. So one of the essential tools for us on our homestead is a chainsaw. We only have a dozen acres here, but there's probably 20,000 trees on this property of various kinds and shapes and sizes. So chainsaw is very important to us. Obviously, if your property has no trees, then that might not be as important, but perhaps a weed eater or something along those lines for helping to clear the land and keep it from being a fire hazard would be important. And of course, if you have a chainsaw, there's chaps, helmet, all kinds of safety gear that comes with operating some of these tools that you would need to have as well. Alright, this is something that I use all the time, and it's in my cordless power tool set. I have a little bit of a mixed bag right now between brands, but DeWalt, Makita, and Milwaukee. If you stick with those 3 brands, they're pretty solid. The essentials within that power tool combo kit would be a skill saw, a sawzall, a drill, and an impact driver. Those are the 4 main tools that'll get you through most everything that you're working on. The number 1 tool within that set of tools that I use is an impact driver. And it took me years and years of strip screws and finally I got around to switching to an impact driver, and I'll never go back. In fact, a while back I was hanging a birdhouse for my wife, and I dropped my DeWalt impact into the creek, so it was essential. I had to go right down and buy another one when it stopped working. So very, very important. A cordless tool set will get you through 99% of the problems that you see. Alright, one of the other things that is essential to us on our homestead is our old blue truck. We are hauling materials, hauling dirt, plywood, you name it. Hauled an excavator in with this when we first were working on the property, equipment and stuff to make progress as we were turning this wild property that we bought into something livable. So an old beater truck of some sort is a really valuable tool. You can get by without it. For example, if you maybe had a trailer and an SUV, just something to haul materials and things in with is very important. Now you don't have to pay somebody to haul stuff in for you all the time. Nothing too fancy. Got a big old dent in the side of the bed. I'm not afraid to take this thing out hunting. A whole bunch of stuff in the bed. It doesn't matter if it dents it, you know. If you have something really nice, you're afraid to put anything in it because you don't want to scratch it, right? So just an old beater that you can use for getting stuff in and out of the homestead. And you can get by as well with vehicles. It's much harder. I mean, I've hauled plywood in the back of our Expedition, hay in it, you name it. I've hauled hay in the trunk of a Honda Accord before, I'm just saying. I've hauled plywood on top of an old Volvo station wagon I used to have. You know, there's ways to get by and around, but life is much easier if you have something that's purpose-built for hauling. And you can't beat a tailgate for working on projects. I've done so many projects on the back of this tailgate. We're good friends. All right, and the number one tool that I use on the Homestead here is our tractor. I've mentioned before in some of our videos, I have a bad back, a couple of blown discs, so this thing does the heavy lifting where I can't. And it's just been a lifesaver doing projects around the property. Even just moving small things back and forth, it's a huge saver on my back. And it's actually honestly what allows me to do what we're doing around the property here. If you have a small area that you're working, that you're turning into a little farmstead or homestead, maybe an acre or less, you probably wouldn't need a tractor. In that case, definitely a wheelbarrow would get you in and out with materials for a garden and some of that stuff. I don't own a wheelbarrow anymore. This thing is my wheelbarrow and much more. So my back thanks it every time I get on that and use it. If you're looking for a good used tractor, I would highly recommend a loader. 90% of what I use this for, like I say, is to help my back out, so I use that loader a lot. Everything from plowing the driveway, I built a snowplow for the front of it, just to lift in important projects, pushing on stuff. You name it, I use it. I use the bucket as a workbench sometimes. Very useful tool. On the back of most tractors is what they call a 3-point, and you can run a variety of tools off of that. For example, we have a brush hog hooked up currently. Taming a big property like that, you know, is something that's very useful. Having a heavy-duty brush hog, and allows us to clear a lot of property that would just take years and years by hand. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife, so to speak, of tools. You're able to run a lot of equipment off the back, whether that's a brush hog or scraping blades or post hole augers, any number of things. There's a ton of implements that you can get for the back of a tractor that make it very useful. But this is just my opinion, the very most important thing that I use is that loader. I know the old 8N Fords and Farmalls and some of those things are cool old tractors, but I would not buy a tractor without a loader. Just wouldn't do it. So is this a definitive list? No. There's a lot of things that might be essential if you live in one area and not in the other. All right, thanks for joining us today. Those are the 5 tools or tool categories that I deem very essential for our work around the homestead here. If you have some that you find essential around your property, please comment below. Share this video if you liked it. And if you'd like to be a part of our homestead journey, please hit the subscribe and notification bell. Thank you so much for joining us. You guys have a good day.